For the 3 years from 2016 to 2019, AISD District 2 schools have lost over 1,700 students, while charter schools cited in D2 have gained nearly 1,500 students. If this trend continues, District 2 will be the first trustee district where AISD educates fewer students than charter schools. Why do you think this is? And as a trustee, how would you hold the superintendent accountable for increasing AISD enrollment? We'll go in the order of Andy, and then John, and then Ophelia.
Okay, it's an interesting question because with some of the parents that I've spoken with, taking their children to charter schools was usually because of an experience at an AISD campus in which there was some issues where there was a lack of communication, whether it be with the teachers or understanding what the student needs are. And some parents felt like, well, if they took their children to a different campus, maybe they can get a different type of learning. So therefore, they would take it to a charter school rather than taking it to another AISD campus. But I believe that one of the reasons why we have charter schools are continuing inundating our area is because as AISD, we're not celebrating the successes of what our campuses can actually do and what we can actually provide. A lot of the resources that we provide at AISD, charter schools cannot. And because of that, it's like we're not putting that out there where charter schools are having billboards where they're advertising, hey, come to our campus and do this and do that. AISD is not doing the same for its campuses. In order to kind of turn that around, we need to be able to put the word out there that yes, this is what our campus can do. These are the resources we can provide your student to make it a whole child experience. We want the children to know that whatever their need is, education-wise, we can meet it. And if we can't meet it, we'll do everything we can to get it so that we can meet it. But because by doing that, then we're able to bring our students back to our campuses. But that also goes to the fact of we need to be able to work with the city to provide affordable housing for our students to be able to stay at our campuses so that they can go to school there as well. Thank you.
Let me ask you a follow-up question on that. For the second part of our question is, how would you hold the superintendent accountable for increasing AISD enrollment? You mentioned communication and selling the schools. What else, though, would you do to ensure that the superintendent make that a priority? And you have a minute to respond.
What I would do to hold the superintendent accountable for that is to look at the data to ensure that the students' learning is actually increasing. Even though I know we are being measured on certain things, it's like there should be an increase in their learning and in their participation, whether it be in attendance, whether it be in their core subjects, as to the students are actually wanting to be at school, they're wanting to learn, and that all goes back to the superintendent providing the resources to the campuses to ensure the students have what they need.
Thank you. And now to John. If the trend continues, District 2 will be the first trustee district where AISD educates fewer students than charter schools. Why do you think this is? And as a trustee, how would you hold the superintendent accountable for increasing AISD enrollment?
Over the summer, the Board of Trustees spent, I don't know, maybe a month and a half crafting a scorecard for the superintendent to reflect sort of like what the superintendent was going to do. I think that scorecard did not put the issues of D2, D3, D1, and D6 front and center. There needs to be a scorecard that addresses the SPED issues that families in D2 face. There needs to be a scorecard that talks about the ways that dual language can be enhanced and increased for all the Spanish language speaking parents in this district. There needs to be a scorecard that looks at the ability to incorporate and implement programs that speak to STEM and creative arts in the schools that are already there. Is our superintendent living up to the mission of the school district, educating all the students in D2 to allow them to become the best they can be? So this question you put there is really stark, that more students will be in charter schools than not in our district if the trend continues. And I think this is the kind of thing that should make a superintendent shake in their boots. D2 needs to be front and center in these ways. So it's not just D2 itself and advertising to charters and appealing to parents. in terms of addressing the needs that Andy Anderson put in there, but it needs to be a district-wide commitment that if D2 is losing students, schools out in West Austin are also losing revenue. And West Austin needs to buy into the success of East Austin for us, AISD for all.
And let me follow up with you then on the first part. What is your understanding of why charter schools are increasing enrollment heavily in D2 while AISD is decreasing enrollment? Can you speak to your understanding of that?
I think charters, my friends who go to charters, they find it more homely. They find that the promises are more straightforward. There may be less bureaucracy. There's a sense that people are being involved, but they're not being told that if your child has a disability, they can be expelled. They're not being told that if there's disciplinary histories, they won't be allowed in charters. I think parents like to give their children a fair shake, and they need to understand that with pressure, Austin ISD can give their kids a fair shake in D2 schools.
Thank you. And the question back to Ophelia now.
Okay, from the community perspective, I have heard many parents that have moved their children to charter schools because it is it's because of their work, and their neighbor or their comadre or somebody is able to help them and to with their child to be in school, and so they move them for accommodations. Sometimes it's not because of their being promoted to them, but it's for convenience to help parents who have to work and can't pick up their kids, don't have childcare, and there aren't those kind of resources in our neighborhood in District 2, and specifically Dove Springs. Also, there's a lot of bullying, gangs, still activities like that in the schools. And so they feel like the charter schools don't have that. And so they're more strict. They say, they don't even let them be on their phones. And so there are some tactics that we should be doing. And, and I even thought that while I was PTA at Eastside, why don't we try to do, not talk to parents, for students to not use their phones, because they have tablets and all the work is going to be on tablets. They don't need their phones. But oh my God, there was no way we were going to have that kind of campaign because parents were totally against it. I want to be able to talk to my son when I call him and those kinds of things. So we have to give and take as community as well. Do we want high education for our students? Then we need to make some sacrifices too, and buckle down on some disciplinary stuff, basic things that we can do as community to support our schools so our students aren't disruptive or distracted in this classroom. There isn't enough of promoting our schools. I know I did an event at Cinco de Mayo to promote Eastside, and another event, several events to promote our school. The district needs to be on board with us in those promotions, and they need to be big and wide. And so to lift up the great things that we are doing to attract families to come back. And I think how I would hold the district superintendent accountable is that let's have these conversations with parents. Parents, what is it gonna take to have our kids stay in public schools? We lost Mendez. I've been in that neighborhood for 30 years and never knew the seriousness of how Mendez was not performing. That should have never happened. And so that's something that I really want to stay focused on, because a lot of parents do not want their kids to go to Mendez now. So how are we going to change that picture? And so that's a conversation to have with the district and the board as well.